number of cards he has in his hand. We got a forest, and we're going to start with an experiment 1 for round number 3 of 10 in our standard open. Soorani going to play a Temple of Silence. Let's not forget, we talked about Shaheen and all of his Esper prowess, and he does win. I don't want to sell him short. He did top 8 4 invitationals in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the great streaks that we've had in the Open Series.
Let's see if Boswell's got the white mana. Yeah, he does. There's Temple Garden. Just going to come in and play tap, though. Here comes Experiment 1. Going to put Soorani down to 19. Simply pass the turn back over to Shaheen, who will draw a copy of Temple of Deceit, but he will fire off a Thoughtseize to begin. Show the hand of a Loxodon Smiter, a Boon Satyr, an Advent of the Worm, a Plains, and a Mutavault. I would not select one of those cards.
I think Boon Satyr is probably the card I'd be afraid of most, just because it can do double duty as an enchant creature. Obviously, you can't take the Smiter, but yeah, so it looks like he's just going to take the Boon Satyr.
Pretty straightforward choice, I think, there. Temple of Deceit going to come into play here for Shaheen. Take a look at the top card. Consult the Grip here for a moment. He's got plenty of lands. I think he's just looking for action at this point. Now he's just going to pass the turn back. Boswell takes a draw. Puts one of those greedy Mutavaults into play.
It's really good here.
It's pretty good right now. Experiment 1's going to evolve into a 2-2. And into the red zone we're going to go. Soorani's going to go down a little bit lower to 15.
Smiter's such a beating. I mean, I really wish this deck was better because I love playing Loxodon Smiter, you know?
I actually wish this deck was better too, honestly. I like the green-white deck a lot.
I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, I think it has a good Esper matchup. So, and you know, given the right metagame, I think it could be a pretty good choice. Certainly, Andrew's doing pretty well with it here. He's 2-0, so
He's off to a great start this game.
pretty good start.
In we come. 6 damage is going to come across here. So I'm just going to go down to 9.
One of the reasons this deck is so good against Esper is it's so resilient against Supreme Verdict. You have just so many. Your opponent can cast Supreme Verdict, and you can just win next turn still. So.
And I also like it, of course, because it's an aggro deck that has a lot of flash and some tricks in it. So you get you actually get to play in your opponent's turn quite a bit more than most aggro decks get to. And Shaheen is just going to pack it up and pack it in. His only play was going to be a Jace. Boswell could cast an Advent of the Worm and get the job done. So Andrew Boswell is going to win game number 1 here over Shaheen Soorani. Green-white aggro, up a game over Esper control. And even though I think this matchup is favorable for Boswell, it certainly doesn't hurt when your opponent mulligans to 5.
Yeah, I think, you know, being on the play, I think Andrew was probably favored no matter what, but Shaheen just had too much to overcome mulliganing to 5 there.
Well, the Control Master does have some nice options available. 3 Fiend Slayer Paladins and a Deicide. Not the best options, but 3 Doomblades are, along with 2 additional copies of Blood Baron of Vescopa, a Dissolve, 2 Gainsay, 2 Sin Collector, and a Stain the Mind. I expect to see the 3 Doomblades and the 2 Blood Barons come in. I also like Sin Collector quite a bit here as well. There's more spells in the green-white deck than you think.
Yeah, getting rid of the Advent of the Worms, yeah, you'd be surprised how annoying that Sin Collector could actually be, especially after board when your opponent could be bringing in cards like God's Willing, and other stuff to protect you. Like there's just a lot more spells after board than you'd expect. So Sin Collector can be a very problematic card at times.
What are we looking at for the Boz?
He's got 2 copies of God's Willing, which I kind of mentioned. I think that card's pretty good at stopping cards like Doomblade, Ultimate Price. He's got another copy of Advent of the Worm. He only has 3 in his main deck, so he has a 4th that he could bring in. 1 copy of Mistcutter Hydra. I love that card as well. He's got 4 copies of Skylasher. That's primarily for the mono blue matchup. I could see him bring it in here, but again, probably not, just because it's just a 2-2, not really that effective. Having Flash is great against control, but when it's just a 2-2, I don't think it's good enough. He's got 2 copies of a Johnny Steadfast. I kind of like bringing that card in just because it's another Planeswalker. He's got 3 copies of Johnny Call Their Pride in his main deck already, so it's a little tricky having 2 copies of 2 different types of Johnnies in your deck. But again, it's another Planeswalker against control, so it allows you to kind of boost up one of your threats without committing another creature to the board against a Supreme Verdict deck. 2 copies of Archangel Throne, probably not good enough here, along with Hunter Hunter and Cetessan Tactics, not really for this matchup. So I see him, he's got 4 copies of Celestia Charms in his main deck. Those are probably coming out for at least the 2 God's Willings, the Advent of the Worm, and the Mistcutter Hydra. The remaining cards that I think he might bring in are Johnny Steadfast, but again, there's really nothing in his main deck I'd want to cut for those, I don't think. I mean, everything, you don't want to cut any of your 1-drops. Your 2-drops are really powerful in Voice of Resurgence and Fleece Mane Lion, and then obviously Loxodon Smiter, Boon Satyr, very important in this matchup as well. So I think probably Celestia Charms for the God's Willings, Advent, and Mistcutter Hydra.
Pretty easy switch.
Yep.
I think all things considered. I still think the matchup is pretty tough for Shaheen. I mean, he does get better. Doomblades, Blood Barons, those are certainly going to help. Sin Collector's not so bad either. I think, by and large, it's a pretty tough matchup for him.
Well, if you're an Esper deck, you don't expect to have to face against Voice of Resurgence very often. You know, that card's pretty annoying for an Esper deck.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I love playing this deck is because of your matchup against Control. But again, another card that's very problematic is Elspeth. Elspeth is really, really like a nightmare for green-white aggro. It's a nightmare for any deck, but you really don't have any answer short of 2 Banishing Lights. You could potentially kind of trample over it with Advent of the Worm tokens. You also have a Johnny Calder Pride, so you can jump stuff. But Elspeth is definitely one of the ways that Shaheen can kind of pull out this match.
Well, if you are just joining us, you are watching Shaheen Soorani and Andrew Boswell shuffle up for game number 2. Cedric Phillips, Osip Lebanovich starts the Games Open Series here in Baltimore at SCG Live, hashtag SCGBALT for your tweets all weekend long. It's the first standard event with M15. This one's going to be pretty important, not only for just Season 3 of the Open Series, as we make our way to its conclusion at the back end of August, but there is a Pro Tour in a couple of weeks here. I know there are some interested observers to see exactly if anyone's got some unique, cool ideas, how to update these decks. One of the players that we're going to be watching quite heavily this weekend is Todd Anderson. One of the few, the proud, the brave, playing a new deck this weekend. A lot of players are going with some stock options, with some new changes. Todd is playing mono green Devotion, and it sure did look nice during round 1.
Yeah, and I think the thing about that deck is that, yes, it's incorporating a lot of new cards, but there's still a comfort level there because that deck existed. So you don't feel like you're going into the tournament with like something completely from scratch, like some new brew that you have no idea whether or not it's been tested. You know, mono green Devotion, it's existed in the past, so you kind of have an idea of how certain matchups play out. You just have a lot more cards that you have access to that are going to help you. So I really like Todd's choice in this tournament.
We are underway in game number 2. It is a Temple of Deceit to start here for Shaheen. Top card going to go to the bottom. And the Esper Control Master playing what he's used to. Experiment 1 going to start things off here for Boswell. Shaheen been playing this deck a lot online with some success. Of course, M15 card's not out just yet on Magic Online, but if you follow him on Twitter, you read his articles on Star City Games, you know he's been having a lot of success with this more aggressive build of Esper. Creatures in the main deck, Bramaz, Blood Baron, 1 Aetherling, a lot of removal in his build. No counter magic. Does not like counter magic right now at all. You typically see some number of dissolves, and people actually go towards counter magic in the sideboard. He's got 2 gainsays and 1 dissolve on the board, but that's it. His Experiment 1's going to come in here, going to put Soorani down to 19.
Yeah, Bramaz could be huge right here. Let's see if he has it.
Yeah, not a bad turn.
Oof.
Not a bad turn at all there for Shaheen. The King of Oreskos does show up on turn number 3 for the Esper Control player. Not for Boswell. It's pretty important for him to have a card like Loxodon Spire to brick wall that thing.
Yeah, he needs something here. Looks like he has a Boon Satyr, but again, you don't really want to trade with a Bramaz. Not sure what else is in hand. It looks like he might have a Planeswalker. I'm not sure if it's a 3-mana Ajani or the 4-mana Ajani, though. My guess is the 4-mana if he decides to leave with the Mutavault.
Looks like he is considering that Mutavault for this turn. You can see there's an Advent of the Worm in Boswell's hand as well, so he's definitely got some options available, even though Advent is a turn away. He's going to play the Mutavault. He's just going to pass the turn back. Now, of course, the thing that makes this really nice from green-white is that this represents a bevy of things, but it's not going to stop Shaheen from attacking, so in he comes.
So it looks like he is going to try to swallow up that Bramaz with the Boon Satyr, which isn't a bad turn for him because the Experiment 1 evolves so he can block the token, and he's basically just, yep, 1-for-1ing the Bramaz. So not a bad turn there for Andrew.
Doesn't seem like a terrible turn for Shaheen either.
No,
it's perfectly fine.
And now Jace, it looks like Jace might come down here.
Yep. Let's see if he's going to go up and down with this. Does he want the cards now or later? It looks like later. So Jace will take up to 5.
So if a Johnny does come down here, this can help things out. Puts a little bit more pressure on Jace, gets a Planeswalker to resolve. Don't think he wants to get Advent of the Worm into play just yet.
Boswell looking at a couple of planes, actually. Does have the Advent. Looks like he does have Ajani Caller of the Pride in his hand. Not sure if he has the brand new Ajani Steadfast quite yet. Again, you mentioned he does have some of those in his sideboard.
So yeah, a couple of options. He could attack. He could activate Mutavault as well. Keep God's Willing up. Unfortunately, that'll only be an attack for 2 in total. So it looks like, yep.
Call of the Pride. That's going to take up. It's going to put a counter on Experiment 1. Important now. Experiment 1 not only gets a little bit bigger, but now can regenerate.
Yep.
Doesn't just have 2 counters on it. As you did mention, Boswell does have access to God's Willing, but does not have the mana to cast it at this point. So Shaheen is going to take down Jace. We'll take a look at a couple of cards. Blood Baron with Skoka, a Hollow Fountain, and a Goblet Shrine. Some pretty nice cards there. He will snap up the Blood Baron very quickly. Put those 2 Shocklands right to the bottom. I have a feeling we might see a 5th land here in just a moment. There is a Watery Grave.
Yeah, and obviously Blood Baron having Pro White is useful, but Andrew has enough green creatures in his deck where it's not that devastating. Obviously, he's got the Experiment one in play now. He also Advent of the Worm. So Blood Baron isn't nearly as devastating against green-white as it would be against like a white weenie deck.
Yeah. Boswell still staring at that Advent of the Worm, still staring at that God's Will. It looks like he's going to start by playing a Plains for the turn, and he does. It looks like you might see a main phase Advent of the Worm right now.
Yeah, I like this play because he's going to grow his Experiment one and then probably uptick it with a Johnny, and then he can attack with his Experiment one.
There's your Worm token. That evolves the Experiment one into a 4/4. Hasn't used as a Johnny yet, but I actually like the line of play that you're mentioning right now. You can turn the Experiment one to a 5/5 as well, and then you're beating Blood Baron in 2 different ways.
Yeah, so you can actually put a counter on Experiment, make it a 4/4. You attack Jace. So either Jace goes away or he blocks with his Blood Baron, and you have that God's Willing in your hand. So pretty good situation here for Andrew. Looks like Jace is probably just going to go away here.
We'll see Shaheen consulting the grip right now. One thing Shaheen does have in his hand, you see the Revelation. He also has an Elspeth. I'm not sure if he has a 6th land, but Elspeth is quite good on this board. Sure, he loses Blood Baron to the minus, but it's pretty gosh darn good right now.
Well, the only thing is that Boswell has the Mutavault in play as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So Elspeth will actually just die.
Yeah.
And Experiment one can get regenerated as well. So
let's go ahead and tick up that Jace to start things.
Looks like we might just get a Sphinx's Revelation here for Shaheen.
Right, gonna play Hollow Fountain untapped. Now it's gonna be the Sun's Champion. We'll see if the elevator goes up or down on this. As you mentioned, there are definitely some reasons why going down is not great. Experiment one can regenerate. Not only that, but oftentimes when Experiment one regenerates, it goes down to a 1/1. Oh no.
Yeah.
It goes down to a 3/3.
Well, the thing is, yeah, this basically just kills an Advent of the Worm token. That's it.
Yeah.
And shrinks the Experiment one a little bit. So pretty good turn for Boswell here because let's see, I'm not sure if he has any other action in his hand, but he really doesn't need it. I mean, he's got a lot of action in play.
Jace did tick up last turn, so those creatures will be a little bit smaller when they attack. But I think Boswell still is going to be able to do a pretty good job here. It looks like he's going to begin by activating Mutavault, maybe.
He should be able to kill both Planeswalkers.
That's what I think.
Elspeth's at 1, and it looks like Jace is at 2, so Experiment 1 will attack Jace, and Mutavault can attack Elspeth, and that should be able to kill him, even with Jace's activation.
And Boswell doesn't lose anything to do any of this stuff.
Yep, and Boswell can still activate his Ajani as well.
It's a really good turn for Boswell. Jeez. Follow plays a Fleecebane Lion. That's going to not evolve. Yes, it will. Jeez, man. Because Jace.
Yep.
Jace makes it a 2-power attacker, and then he evolves it. It's like he's played this deck before. Huh.
So that's why he didn't activate his Ajani prior to combat.
Yeah. Oh, that tricky Boz.
That Boz, he knows what he's doing. He's not messing around.
Johnny looks like it's going to level up something. It'll also go up itself. So
this is great because he still has that 1 white mana up for God's Willing, so just in case. And he's going to put it on the Mutavault.
Yeah.
So great here. Supreme Verdict really just doesn't do anything or that much against this board other than kill a Fleecebane Lion. And if he doesn't kill the Fleecebane Lion this turn, if God's Willing can protect it, then he's going to be able to he's going to be able to monster sit next turn and give it indestructibility. So pretty good situation here.
If you ever wondered how Craig Wesco won that Pro Tour with green-white, in a field that was littered with Esper, the Pro Tour Dragon Space, you can see how, and of course he didn't have access to all these cards, but you can see just kind of the tension that they put on a deck that's trying to cast Supreme Verdict and Sphinx's Revelation. I mean, Shaheen has 6 lands and playing a Rev in his hand, and in a lot of instances, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and he played 2 Planeswalkers this game, too, along with 2 really good creatures that just didn't do anything.
Yeah, if you look at Shaheen's graveyard, all he's cast is Mythic spells.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mythic spells against, green-white beaters.
Yeah.
Green-white beaters win.
Watergrave going to come into play on tap, so I'm just going to go down to 15.
So this might be a big rev.
Man, not that big. The problem too is that, normally when you're in a situation like this, when you're revving and you're typically just revving for a card like either A, Elspeth or B, Verdict.
Yeah.
And neither of those cards are good right now. So, of course the question is, what can I rev into that's great? And the answer may be nothing. Boswell going to start his turn. Figure out exactly what he wants to do. He might be trying to figure out if he can kill him this turn. Because, if you're Boswell, and of course we have the privilege of knowing this feels like a rev turn, right?
Yeah.
If you're on the other side of the table, your opponent just played a shock land untapped and passed the turn back. There's a couple of cards that could get you right now. I mean, Faded Retribution would be very good if Shaheen had that, but that card's not really something that's on everyone's radar. So I think if you're Andrew, you're probably thinking to yourself, all right, this is probably just a, just a revelation turn. There's Boonsader on there.
So this is great because he has that God's Willing, and he minus a Johnny, so Experiment 1 is double strike now. So let's see here. That'd be 8, that'd be 16, 19 damage. So that would be lethal even if Shaheen revs for 4.
That's all Shaheen can do.
So Shaheen might have to rev for 2 here to try to draw a spell.
Yep.
But again, we know Boswell has the God's Willing, so.
Yeah, he revs for 2. He comes to the conclusion that you do. That's the best he can do. Hit 1 and 2. Banish Line Detentions for an extension of the hand. Andrew, the boss Boswell, is going to defeat the Esper Control Master and Shaheen Soorani 2 games to 0. Green-white aggro.
The boss.
Destroying Esper Control. It seems like a horrible match for Esper.
Shaheen should have gone sleeveless. He might have had a better chance.
Yes, of course.
It's all about the sleeves.
Sleeveless with the Ramones. Maybe that's how Shaheen would have won. Or, not play Esper against Green-white. Definitely one of the two.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the two.